Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about organic versus non-organic. Should you be buying organic? Is it better for you? Is it not better for you? All of those questions will be answered in this video. This is actually requested of me to do, and I think this is a great video to make. There is so much information out there about organic products, and I just think can be quite confusing. So I just want to give you guys some guidelines to think about when deciding whether or not to buy organic food. For sake of ease in this video, I'm just going to be talking specifically about produce, just to make it a little easier to follow. But pretty much everything I'm going to be talking about can be related to all other organic foods. So let's talk about organic food. What even is organic food? So basically organic just means that the produce or the food, whatever it is, was grown without the use of any kind of pesticides or chemical insecticides, like chemical insect repellents, anything like that. It's just grown naturally. Nothing is tampered with, nothing is added into the growing process. It's just as basic as you can get it, just grown naturally. So the main reason people want to buy organic produce is the organic produce isn't going to have any of those residues of the pesticides or the insecticides that were sprayed all over the produce while they were growing. So by eating organic food, you're not consuming those chemical residues, and the big claim is that if you're consuming those chemical residues, it increases your risk for diseases, specifically cancer. So that's why people generally are gravitating towards the organic foods, but they are more expensive, and it definitely is kind of a decision you need to make whether or not you want to spend more on the organic produce. So the big question is, should you be buying organic produce? And of course, I don't have a straight yes or no answer. I feel like most things in nutrition are that way. They're just not very straightforward. They're kind of confusing. There's all these different factors. So to help you guys make better informed decisions about purchasing organic versus non-organic produce, I have 3 things that I'm going to share with you, basically 3 guidelines or 3 things you need to consider when you're deciding whether or not to buy organic produce. So the very first one is, as of right now, which is January 2015, there has been absolutely no major definitive official claim that consuming non-organic produce directly leads to cancer. So there is been a ton of research done. This is a really hot topic, and there's been so many studies that look at, consuming the non-organic versus organic and its increased risk with cancer. So while there have been a lot of studies that show that there may be an association between eating non-organic produce and cancer, there just hasn't been enough concrete evidence, concrete conclusions for a big governing organization such as the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics to come out and say officially that non-organic produce directly leads to cancer. These kind of huge claims take a really, really long time to come about if they are true, because just so much research has to go into it. A lot of studies will show that there's an association, a lot of studies will show there is an association, so at this point in time it is inconclusive, and it's really difficult to say 100% that eating non-organic produce leads to cancer. So that's my very first point. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. That is the current state of the literature right now, so definitely something to be aware of. My second point has to do with actually the phytochemical content of produce. So what the heck is a phytochemical? I could spend an entire video talking about this, but in a nutshell, phytochemicals are compounds that exist naturally in produce, so fruits and vegetables, and basically they are like these disease-fighting super compounds that when we consume them do wonders for the body. They are so powerful at combating inflammation, and inflammation is pretty much the #1 thing that causes disease. Inflammation is not good. We do not want inflammation in our bodies, and to be able to consume these really powerful compounds that directly attack inflammation from fruits and vegetables is a really awesome thing. So what do phytochemicals have to do with the organic versus non-organic debate? I will explain why. So plants actually produce phytochemicals as a defense mechanism. This is one of the things that they make so that they can protect themselves from the outside environment, especially from insects. So if you think about it, if you have, say, a non-organic farm that uses pesticides and insecticides to protect their plants, basically creating a chemical barrier over their fields so that it keeps the bugs away, If these plants are getting sprayed with these insecticides and they don't have these outward attacks from insects, they don't really need to make those phytochemicals because they don't really need to defend themselves nearly as much because they already have this chemical barrier going on. So if you think about it, if they're spraying the insecticides on there, plants don't need to defend themselves, they're not going to make nearly as many of these phytochemicals. You're most likely going to have less of these really powerful phytochemicals produced in the plants, so we're going to end up eating less if we're always eating non-organic. That's just another thing to think about. It's kind of different, something you don't really hear about in this debate, but it is something that does occur naturally, and by adding in these insecticides, you're gonna really reduce that process. So just another thing to think about, just to keep in mind when you're deciding whether or not to splurge for the organic or just go for the non-organic. My third and final point actually has less to do with the consumer itself. It's more of a humanitarian point, something to think about on a more global perspective. So, like I said earlier, there's been a lot of research done looking at the consumption of these residues of the pesticides, insecticides, and that it's still inconclusive whether or not it actually does anything too harmful, whether or not it increases our cancer risk. But there's something to be said for the workers who are working on these non-organic farms. So at this point in time, research isn't definitive of whether eating the residues causes any harm to our bodies. However, one thing that is definitely known and definitely true is that these workers on these farms who are getting exposed to these chemicals on a daily basis, they definitely have an increased risk for cancer. So residues may not do something, but they're being exposed, sprayed with, constantly breathing in these chemicals all day, every day at their jobs on these farms. So they do have an increased cancer risk. So if you look at it from a humanitarian perspective, you may think, I'm not so sure I want to, splurge for the organic, but it is, nice to know that when you're purchasing, say, a bunch of bananas or a bag of apples or whatever, that the people who are working hard to bring us that produce, their lives aren't in danger. So again, just another thing to think about when you're deciding whether or not to buy the organic or non-organic. So I hope that these 3 points, 3 guidelines, can help you guys just have a clearer picture of what's going on in the organic versus non-organic, and I hope that it helps you to make a more informed decision. Again, there's a lot of information out there. It can be really confusing, but in my opinion, those are the 3 main things you need to kind of think about when making this purchasing decision. And of course, whether or not you choose to buy all organic, some organic, or no organic, it's totally up to you. You have full power over what you eat. It's pretty much based on your opinion and what you can afford. So again, I'm not knocking anything. I'm not knocking organic or non-organic. I just want you guys to understand, more about the situation behind it and what exactly is the deal with the organic versus non-organic, so you can make an informed decision. So now that you guys know a little bit more about the organic versus non-organic debate, you may be thinking, okay, maybe I do want to buy some more organic produce now that I know some of these things, but maybe you can't afford to buy all organic. It's really expensive. So I did want to share with you guys really quickly at the end, there is what's called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. You may have heard of this. So these 2 lists really help differentiate, what you should really be buying organic and what you don't really necessarily have to. So if you go ahead and Google the Clean 15 or the Dirty Dozen, some of the lists may have slightly different fruits and vegetables on there. So I got my 2 lists from the Environmental Working Group. This organization every year publishes basically what they think is the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. They test all different types of fruits and vegetables, and then they will compile which ones had the most residues compared to which ones had the very least. These lists are extremely handy and very helpful for people who want to buy some organic produce, buy more organic, but can't necessarily afford to go fully organic because it's very expensive. So I'm going to go ahead and read the lists to you. I have them on my phone here so I don't forget any. But this, again, was published by the Environmental Working Group organization. These 2 lists were published April of last year, so 2014. They'll most likely have a new one come out this spring because they publish this every year. And I'm going to link the website down below to this organization so you guys can check it out on your own if you're curious, and also so you know where to go to check it out when they put the new list out, which will be probably sometime this spring. because you know they may change, so you never know. So it's good to kind of keep tabs on what is the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 every year. So first, the Dirty Dozen. These are the ones that were found to have the most chemical residues on them. And if you're thinking about buying some organic produce, these are probably the fruits and vegetables that you want to buy organic. So first we have apples, then peaches, sweet bell peppers, celery, imported nectarines, strawberries, spinach, potatoes, cucumbers, grapes, cherry tomatoes, and imported snap peas. And then the Clean 15, these are the foods that had the least amount of residue, so if you're going to not splurge on the organic produce, these are the ones that you can just go ahead and get the non-organic because they probably pose the least amount of threat, I guess you could say. Okay, so Clean 15. Avocados, sweet corn, pineapples, cabbage, frozen sweet peas, onions, asparagus, mangoes, papayas, kiwi, eggplant, grapefruit, cantaloupe, cauliflower, and sweet potatoes. So that is pretty much it for this video. I hope that my 3 tips, points, guidelines, whatever you want to call them, were helpful to you. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you learned something. It really helps me share this video with other people. I really would love to spread the word on something like this because it's so confusing, and you know, it's really hard to kind of navigate what the hell to buy because there's just so much information out there. So if I could help, you know, as many people as I can in this situation, because it is really confusing, I would absolutely love to do that. So go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you learned something, and just share this video, share this knowledge, because everyone should know this kind of stuff. You know, everyone should know how to eat, everyone should know what to eat and how to shop for food, and really, that's just not the case. So I just really want to help as many people as possible. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I put up new videos every week. And I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this video right now, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!